Hey guys, and welcome back to a post-World Cup, post-Christmas edition of our Stars and Stripes and Maple Syrup. We have segment regular Justin Warner with us from Canada. Thank you for joining us, Justin.
No problem at all. Yuletide felicitations to one another.
There we go. So hopefully you've had a good Christmas. Obviously, the lads delivered yesterday and gave us a Christmas win on Boxing Day.
Yeah, left it late as they like to do, but yeah, can't complain with too much about the performance, or definitely not the 3 points. So
No, I got to be honest. I mean, just like with a one sentence recap of the game, I thought the only opportunity that they really had a goal was our deflected own goal.
yeah,
They offered very little going forward.
yeah, you can kind of see why they're a team that's not drawn any games. I know John Dale Thomason moaned post game about they should have done better at protecting the point, but yeah, I didn't think they were tidy, but I don't really recall Patterson making too many saves. It was cracker in the second half, but otherwise, yeah, he wasn't exposed too much. And even with their two colossi, I suppose, at the back, who came up for the corners, we didn't actually look for the first time in forever look too much at risk from set pieces either.
Well, they were disappointing, given that they've got one of the division's top talents in Brereton Diaz. And I think it's hilarious that he took Diaz on the end since he's playing for his mother's country of birth now. I expected him to cause us difficulty, but then when I think back to the game at Ewood, dodgy decision led to their first goal. I think they were offside for their second, if I remember right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he had a decent game at Ewood, but I don't think yeah, he wasn't that much of a standout. I don't think. I mean, he did well with the chances that he got, but yeah, I think between them, Dan Ballard and Luca Nine did a number on him yesterday. So,
but one thing I will praise the referee on yesterday, before we jump into the game too much, is I felt that he went down quite easily, which is obviously part of the course in the modern game, but the referee wasn't fooled by it.
Yeah, you could argue the referee wasn't fooled by very much because he wasn't giving a huge amount of free kicks one way or the other. But yeah, it was nice to see that he wasn't letting him get away with that kind of shit, which we've suffered from in the past, definitely. So,
okay, well, while we have you, let's do a quick recap on what's happened since we last had a our Stars and Stripes podcast. It was pre-World Cup break. So we had the Millwall game, which we won, West Brom game, which we lost, and that second half, the less said about that, the better. And then obviously we had yesterday's game. I don't think I'm missing anything in between that.
Hull,
Hull.
the draw at Hull.
Yeah. I thought it was a disappointing game. It was dull to watch, but then again, it's Hull.
Mhm.
I know. So I got pulled up when I called Luton a shithole the other episode. So I best not criticize the stunning architecture and the beautiful place that is Hull.
The post-apocalyptic landscape that is Hull. Yes.
Yeah, you never know where Sunderland fans are from or where they live, so you can never be too critical of Hull. But I mean, it is a shithole.
Yeah.
But then again, there's those that will say Sunderland's a shithole as well. I think I've been accused of that on one or two occasions because, well, there are places that are not that nice in Sunderland. All right,
Yeah.
so yesterday's game started with multiple changes to the lineup. Certain came back in for Lessie, who looks as though he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Ballard came in, which we thought he would because we figured that Danny Bath was out injured. Obviously, Embo's out for the rest of the season, although there is some hope he'll be back towards the end of the season, but honestly don't think you need to rush him back. And then Stewart came in for Sims up front. Okay with those changes?
Yeah, it was common sense, really. I think Stewart brings a little bit more mobility, a little bit more of a press than Sims does. And yeah, that was apparent from the off. Basically, he was running around like a blue ass fly. I think, the ongoing, I guess, injury to Pritchard, that we sort of move things around a little bit at the back and in midfield. Diallo came inside, Roberts was out on the wing, and Pat Roberts is as usual, constantly cutting aside. But I thought Diallo played really well, really good selection of passes, got stuck in, was tracking back an awful lot as well. I think the only disappointment really was I thought Neil and Evans were very quiet, certainly in the first half, as a midfield pair. But other than that, it was fairly solid setup, and can see us playing. Well, obviously we play that formation again. I think it'll be interesting to see if we bite the bullet and put Sims and Stewart together at some point. But certainly happy with the starting 11.
I mean, the Sims and Stewart partnership definitely looked as though it had legs at the beginning of the season, but then obviously they both got injured. Obviously, I think Stewart was pre-Borough game and Sims was just after the Borough game or during. So there's who was manager for Borough? Was that Mowbray?
Mowbray just came in. Yeah, his first game was the Borough game, wasn't it?
All right. So obviously then we've got Alessi, who is due back mid-January, along with I think Bath said Alessi hasn't got a time scale at the moment that I can see. Pritchard and Bath are both due back mid-January.
Yeah.
And then Embleton, the same, should be back by mid-April. But yesterday, obviously, we lost Circuit and Gooch to Niggles. So Gooch had a huge ice pack on his hamstring and it didn't look good for this week. Then a sort of kick on the outside of the knee. So we'll just wait to see what that is. And Agilessi had injections, but he's out for 6 weeks as well. Oh no, it's not an injury where he's out for 6 weeks, so he should be back in this game or two. So that's not too bad. I thought Hume did well when he came in for Sirkin yesterday.
Yeah, considering he's a right back playing as a left back, I thought he did all right. I know there are a few complaints online about him looking a little bit bewildered and lost at times, but I think that's what you expect from a 20-year-old who's primarily played as a right back.
And when he has played, I mean, he's not exactly a regular.
Exactly. Yeah.
Has Huggins disappeared again, or is he just kind of like, was he on the bench yesterday?
He wasn't on the bench yesterday. I had a quick look online. I couldn't find any record of anything being said about him. Basically, he played that Birmingham game, did all right, and has disappeared. I don't think he's even featured for the under-21s. So I'm assuming he's injured, but he's not been mentioned in dispatches. So not entirely sure where we are with him.
It definitely makes for testing a couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that probably for the Wigan and Blackpool games, we may go to a back three. Obviously, Bailey Wright's back from the World Cup now. Ballard in 09 looks solid enough. I think we're screwed if we lose another centre back. But
on the bright side, we can start buying people again next week.
This is also true. Yeah.
So, all right. So, game started off yesterday. I thought the pace for the first 20 minutes was incredible.
Yeah, really for a change, really happy with the way we started. And the first 20-25 minutes, so we were even up to the equaliser, I think we were by far the better team, as you said earlier. I think they were lucky to get their goal. Little bit of inexperience from Dan Ballard to give away the free kick that caused the own goal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other than that, he was supreme at the back. I thought he had a really, really good game. So
I don't think he's put a foot wrong since he signed for us. I mean, apart from the one that was on top of the Reading players. I don't know. He got stamped on by the Reading player, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as his performances, he hasn't had a bad game yet that
No,
I can
no,
think
absolutely not. No.
of. So yeah, so I mean, free kick was obviously it was a legitimate free kick. It was a little bit of an experience, and we'll find ourselves 1-0 down. And having a house full yesterday, still obviously Boxing Day, we still got family down from New Jersey. I'm watching it on my iPad, and I got people sleeping, so I couldn't really react. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna make myself a cup of coffee. And before I know it, my phone's buzzing to tell me we equalised. So clear penalty, I figured. I've seen it on replay a couple of times now.
Yeah, I think Stewart did well to sort of step across the player and I guess invite the contact, but yeah, absolutely, stonewall penalty.
Yeah, I don't think even the most ardent of Blackburn fans can complain about that one. And put it away nicely. Send the
It
keeper the wrong
was
way.
definitely a very nice penalty. Mr. Harry Kane could watch a few of those.
I wasn't going to touch upon the World Cup. I've got to be honest. I'm not disappointed by the fact we went out to France. Um, I thought we outplayed them overall over the 90 minutes, but it just seemed like a very Sunderland type of game to lose. Every ricochet that could have gone in the box went to a French player.
Yeah,
I think particularly the one where their keeper's on his back and the ball bounces up and just bounces up into his hands.
yeah,
And I was like, that's the kind of luck. When you're having that kind of luck, you go on to win games. But back to Sunderland. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm struggling in the first half to pull out anybody that I could criticize. And it's getting on my nerves. I got to be honest. I haven't been able to criticize Corey Evans for weeks.
I think Corey Evans he made a couple of loose passes in the first half. He gave the ball away a couple of times,
Yeah,
but but other than that, yeah, he wasn't too bad. As I said before, I thought Dan Neil was very quiet. I don't think he. It wasn't really until later in the second half when I think we made the enforced changes and sort of changed our shape a little bit that he was able to sort of thread the ball through for people. Um, First half, I think he was possibly playing a little bit too deep to be effective. Um, but yeah, as I said, Diallo, I think, sort of made up for that in spades.
Yeah, and look, I've been impressed by Diallo. I was a little nervous earlier in the month by the rumors that Man United might be recalling him at halfway through the loan. But it doesn't look so that's going to be the case now. Hopefully, he doesn't have blinders in training while they're at Carrington for the next couple of days. And we can keep him to the end of the season. Obviously, he's a player we couldn't afford to keep in our wildest dreams.
No.
But it may be that a second year out on loan would do in the world of good, given how competitive the Premier League and British football in general is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see us being able to afford 20, 30 million for him, which I'm sure they'd be wanting to get for him. And yeah, I think another loan is probably the only way we're going to keep hold of him in the near future.
Yeah. I thought Clark was quite quiet yesterday. I don't think
He was
had
hot. He was hot and cold. I think he did actually play. Sort of, I thought he played better than Roberts. I wasn't particularly surprised when Roberts was subbed off. People were calling for Clark to go off on the NASA chat, but I thought Clark was at least mixing it up and was putting in some crosses on his left foot. It wasn't all cut in on the right, whereas Paddy Roberts, yeah, every time was just inside on the left. And I thought him and Diallo played fairly well together. I mean, he did put some decent balls through for Diallo, but I don't think he was creating too many problems.
I thought in the
By
first half,
himself.
him and Gooch were really good together.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously,
Gooch
Gooch
definitely.
on the overlap. If Gooch could just sort out that end product.
Yeah, yeah, he had a couple of really bad crosses in me,
Yeah.
but at least he was getting forward and trying. I guess I thought Gooch had one of his better games in recent weeks for us. So
I never has a bad game as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, I know.
So halftime we go in level.
Right.
And despite the fact that I'd seen online that we had very few tickets left available for sale, I'm a little bit shocked that there's only 43,000, only 43,000 in the stadium yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it was an early kickoff, wasn't it? It was on Sky. The rumours seemed to be sort of pushing us towards 47,000, and that was what they were talking about on the television. So during the game, that they were expecting 47,000, and yeah, sort of come in just below 44 was. I suppose it on the plus side, it's a sign of how far we've come that we're disappointed with the 44,000 attendance, but yeah, it looked at it wasn't so much the attendance for me as well. It was like the number of people who obviously stopped on the concourse to have a pint for 10 minutes either side of half time as well. I mean, there were a lot of empty seats sort of well into the second half, which is something I've never been able to understand. I mean, when I was going to the stadium, I remember there was a line of lads who sat in front of us who like would always turn up late. They'd always disappear like at least 5 minutes before half time, always come back 5 minutes after, and would always leave at 80 minutes as well.
Yeah,
never understood that at all. But
it's completely baffles me. I mean, going to the match is not cheap. At the best of times, I mean, obviously at Christmas when you got all those gifts on top of it as well, it's extra. But to rock up a little bit late, to disappear during the gameplay at halftime, like you look, it's not as if those Balti pies are like the best thing on earth. It's not as if overpriced crap beers. They like, it's just a weird phenomenon that you would leave during match play.
Yeah,
get a beer and a shit pint.
Yeah, totally agree with you there.
And then I've never understood the people who leave early.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the traffic's not the best out of the stadium, is it? But I mean, we always used to stop in town for at least an hour after the game. So yeah, I don't know, but each their own.
Especially when it's like yesterday, people are leaving at 1-1, and it's like the game's still on the line.
Yeah.
Like, so I've only ever left a Sunderland game early twice in my life.
Which was?
It was 1991 season. We played Swindon Town. We were at Roker. We were losing 1-0. I wasn't feeling well. I was in the Roker end, and I'm like, I'm going to my nana's. It was just around the corner. I have some chips, and I'm going home. And between leaving the Roker end and getting to her house on Ripon Street, which is 10-minute walk if you're really slow, we scored 2 late goals. Thomas Hauser with them both, which tells you how old I was. And from that day on, I just refused to leave the game early until I was back in the UK. I think Keane was the manager. And we got smashed off. No, he might not have been the manager. We got smashed off Wigan. We were 4-0 down before half time. And I was just like, fuck this. Like, I'm not watching this. So I'm in my dad's, what was my seat, but it was my dad's seat. I go down, I see his chair, I'm like, I want to leave. He's like, what? He's like, all the gates are tagged shut. I'm like, I want to leave. He's like, security. So they had to escort me down through the main entrance, like the way the players come in and out, so that I could leave before half time. And that's the only time I've ever left a game early. I don't see the point.
No, you paid for 90 minutes entertainment. You might as well stick it through.
I paid for 90 minutes of football.
Well, yeah.
You barely pay for entertainment.
That's a fair point.
All right, so second half we came out, and things started a little bit slower in the second half. It wasn't as frantic as the first, but I thought we dictated play throughout. Yeah,
as we were saying before, I don't I don't really remember Blackburn causing us too many problems. They had that one good chance that Patterson got down well and saved from. I'm trying to remember who it was. Morton, I think it was.
Post pass before we scored our winner.
Yeah, Morton, I think it was the lad who's on loan from Liverpool. It was a nicely struck shot. It was savable, but he did well to get around and down and push it wide. But other than that, I don't really remember them having too many opportunities where they either broke on us or even from set pieces where we looked like we were in too much danger. Well, Luka Known was going to get a concussion at one point with that shot that he headed
Yeah.
over the bar. But
fortunately, I don't think there's much in there to concuss. I think he's got a lot of space for that brain to bounce around in.
Surely that's more dangerous. It'll be rattling around a lot more. But yeah.
Look at dinosaurs; they were able to headbutt things all life long and not have concussions.
True.
But no, I mean, if you look at the stats, like the key stats, and I don't go into things like XG because I think it's a bullshit stat. Possession was 50-50.
Yeah.
They only had 2 shots on target and only created 1 big chance themselves.
Yeah.
Which obviously was the one Patterson saved. So for them, it was just a case of I can't work out what their plan was. They didn't come out to, I mean, after that first 20 minutes, it's not like they were attacking us with any real gusto. It's not like they were pushing as a team who were 3rd in the league. And they weren't sitting behind the ball trying to kind of kill the game off at 1-1.
Yeah, definitely a strange performance. Perhaps they got overexcited by the thought of drawing a game, but yeah, it was it was neither one thing nor another from them. So yeah, bit of a strange one, but yeah.
Look, I'm not complaining. And the fact that we were able to beat Blackburn, I thought we should have beaten them in the first game, but I think did we go down to 10 men in the first game as well? Or am I thinking Sheffield?
That was Sheffield. That was Sheffield. Yeah, I don't think we had anybody sent off at Blackburn, but
I know it was definitely 2 dodgy refereeing decisions that led to both their goals.
Yeah, no red cards. 2-0. It was. Yeah, I thought they were. Yeah, the score flattered to deceive. I think they were a bit lucky on that one. I mean, because look at the stats there. So we had 60% possession in that game. Beat them on shots and shots on target. So yeah, I think we deserved something from that game. And well, I wouldn't say it'd be a travesty if we drew the game yesterday. I think we were definitely edging it. We weren't. I mean, let's be honest. We didn't cause their keeper too many issues. I don't think ourselves.
No, I think we only had 4 or 5 shots on target yesterday.
Yeah. But the one that mattered went in. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think right around 75 minutes, I said that we should bring Sims on to play alongside Stewart for the last 15, and you responded with respect the point.
That wasn't me respecting the point. I thought it was a very Tony Mowbray substitution to make to put more forwards on. But yeah, fair play to him. It paid off in the end.
No, and it did. And look, I thought we were well worth our victory. Again, I don't think I think so. You mentioned Neil, how he didn't seem to be as productive in the first half until and in the second half until we changed the system.
Yeah,
and I don't think he enjoys that deep lying defensive midfield position, which we seem to play. To be able to have 2 wingers and an attacking midfielder behind the striker, you play those 2 defensive midfield players, and it's not his natural game. So I'm not going to criticize him for having a bad game. So I don't think he had a bad game, but yeah, definitely wasn't as industrious and as busy as we know he can be.
Kind of begs the question, though. I mean, so we had Barr on the bench. Trying to remember if Matete was even
on the bench yesterday. Yeah.
So I mean, so we had 2 defensive midfielders who we could have brought on. I guess the question is a disinterested or ineffective Dan Neil better than Barr or Matete, who would be playing in their natural position or should be their natural position? I don't know the answer myself. I know Matete last season when he was playing. looked decent this season. I've not been as impressed with him. And Bar looks a bit of a headless chicken at times to me.
But Bar's like 12 years old, isn't he? 19. So I mean, it's not as if he's the finished product.
Yeah, true enough.
So I'll give him his headless chicken years.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna, but yeah, I expected more from Matete this season. I liked the look of him when he came in last year. I don't know where it's gone wrong for him so far, and rumor is he's going to go out on loan in January.
Yeah, I can see some of the midfielders going out on loan. Would be exceptionally surprised now. I mean, obviously, people were talking about Hume and Huggins going out on loan. Given where we are, unless we bring in replacements, I'd be very surprised if we let any defensive players go.
I think that I can't even think of the guy's name now. Who's in charge of all the playing side of things?
Speaking.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. We'll blame Christmas for that because we're in the eternal Sundays at the moment. Yeah, I don't think Speakman has any interest in letting anyone in defense go. And looking at the transfer news, I'm not exactly blown away by the players we're getting linked with. I mean, I think
12-year-old Chilean.
Yeah. Was Bradley Dack, who I thought looked awful yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that, for me, that's one of those kind of lazy journalists, kind of like, oh, he managed them at Blackburn, he must want them here. But yeah, I mean, halfway point in the season has just been passed. The fact that, well, up until the Reading game, which Reading look as though they're about to win, we were 8th in the table, just a point off the playoffs. Again, I don't want to be in the playoffs at the end of the season. I want a quiet season. Between 7th and 10th will do me fine for the year. But I think this season so far has been an overwhelming success.
Yeah, I mean the league table is still ridiculously tight, but I think you'd have to be pretty picky to not be happy with how things have gone so far. I think we're, as North Americans would love, we're over 500, so we've won more games than we've lost.
I hate that phrase.
But yeah, we've won more games than we've lost. We actually have a positive goal difference, which is a bonus. And I think more importantly, we've played well against the teams above us as well when we have played them.
With the exception of the second half against Burnley.
With the exception of the second half against Burnley.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're set fair. And I think it would be. I know when we had the talking with Speakman, he was sort of talking about sort of expecting it to be a much longer term project to get up into the Premiership. And I think while the excitement would be nice of dallying with automatics or the playoffs, I think the team itself is a long way away.
It would be like that first Peter Reid team that went up.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I think as promising as some of these young kids are, I don't think you could play them in the Premier League. So you'd have to then invest heavily, a la Nottingham Forest, who brought in 79 new players.
So yeah, something like that.
32 was that their last count, and they're talking about spending money again in January. And I'm like, well, who? Like, where can you bring in? But
yeah.
But no, I mean, look, 47 points is normally the average safety zone for the Championship. So effectively, another 13 points from our last 22 games. And we are good for another season of Championship football.
Yep, I'll take that.
Obviously, of the 3 promoted clubs, we are performing by far the best, which isn't always the case with the playoff team.
Yeah, I think you either it tends to go either one way, two ways, isn't it? It's sort of, I mean, it's normally the team that goes up that's sort of in a decent vein of form when they go up, and sometimes that does carry over into the sort of first few weeks of the league, but then they tend to peter off quite quickly. At least we've sort of been pretty steady as we've gone on. So yeah, really can't complain. Yeah, the fact that we're going to down at the bottom is troublesome.
So speaking of the bottom, the two teams that we have to play for the remainder of the Christmas season are both in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
That's Blackpool and Wigan. We've played them both at home.
Yeah.
I can't remember the results.
Let me have a quick look. I think we
beat Wigan.
We beat Wigan 2-1. Blackpool was 0-0.
I think we've been better away from home this season. I think we've won both those games comfortably. Well, as comfortably as Sunderland ever wins a game.
Yeah, I think the only worry really is the short turnaround between the games and how fit players are, but particularly in defence. But
well, given that they've just had a month off for the World Cup, well, apart from Bailey Wright, obviously, who went deep into it with Australia.
Jewison Bennett, of course, as well.
I think Jewison Bennett played more minutes than Bailey, though, didn't he?
Well, Bailey Wright didn't play a second, did he? So, yeah.
Oh, I thought he got on, didn't he?
I don't think he did. Oh, if he did, it was like a pity substitution in the last game. I don't think they did. Let me double check. But Jewison Bennett, I mean, definitely, yeah, he almost played a full game early on. Where's Australia?
Did he not come on as a second half substitute against Denmark? It's
no. Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yeah, you're right. But that was his only. Those were his only minutes.
Only minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but anyway, yeah.
None of those players there that aren't carrying a niggle or a knock have an excuse not to be able to go 3 games in a week.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, Ross Stewart's coming back from long-term injury, and he seems to be sprightly throughout. So,
yeah. If anything, I think it's the concern is that Mowbray's talking about rotating the squad, and I don't know how positive that's going to be, given that he doesn't seem to trust certain players to even come on as substitutes. I can't see him starting like Mishi or Bar, but I guess we'll see. I mean, in theory, the fact that Wigan and Blackpool are second from bottom, third from bottom, both in fairly shit veins of form.
But Wigan with a new manager.
Yeah.
Was it Colo Torre or Yaya? Whichever one?
I
think the job was offered to both of them and rejected by one of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think I would prefer for us to put out a stronger team against Wigan. I think we could probably wing it a little bit more against Blackpool.
Yeah, I'd like to beat the Sunderland reserves more than I would Blackpool.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one.
And just the fact that we've had that back and forth with them last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and then we've got a week off, and then it's the FA Cup game. So
against Shrewsbury.
Indeed, the mighty Shrewsbury. So
I'd be quite happy to go out of that one quite early as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to lose to Shrewsbury, but I wouldn't mind giving a few players a rest.
Honestly, don't care.
Well, I mean, it's pretty unlikely you're going to win it, is it? So, yeah, from my perspective, it doesn't make any difference if we go out in the third or fourth round or the semi-final.
Yeah, from my perspective, I look at it as just extra games on legs.
Yeah, agreed.
And for this season, all I care about is not going down.
Yeah.
And not going up.
Yeah.
All right, before we go on to jump on the predictions, obviously we've hit the halfway point of the season. Player of the season so far for you?
I don't even really talk about the goal. So,
Oh, sorry.
so
Sorry, let's jump back onto the last minute goal. Yeah. All right. So as if that didn't happen. So game's coming to an end.
yeah,
My recommended substitution happens and Sims comes on to play alongside Stewart.
yeah,
And wouldn't you know
boy, pummeled it home. It was
it? I looked
it
at it
was
when
a
he hit it, and I was like, "Oh, the fuck!" Excuse my French. I don't curse as much on this as I do in real life. But I was like, "Oh my god, there's no way this is going past the what the hell?"
I think the goalie was so surprised he didn't even move for it. It was slow motion. It was and it was I guess it was nice for us to almost score off a set piece because I mean uh, it was a free kick. Ballard Ballard won the first header and then just prodded it towards the 6 yard box um, on a ricochet and yeah, I thought Sims sorted his feet out well. And yeah, I'm with you. I would have preferred a little bit more power and certainty behind it, but
Like they're the kind
it
of goals
crossed the line. So,
traditionally we would concede,
oh yeah,
where the
absolutely.
ball's just creeping.
Yeah,
And it's like somebody should be able to get back and get it, but so no, it was nice to see us win with one of those. It's nice to see us win in extra time as well.
yeah,
I think it spoke highly of the players that they didn't give up. Um, I think the fact that that wasn't our last dangerous attack of the game as well shows that even when we're 2-1 up and we're coming towards the end, we're still push.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, look, it was a good all round performance.
yeah.
I was torn on my man of the match, but just gave it to Ballard over Stewart.
Yeah, so it was easily between the two of them. I mean, I thought Stewart, he's definitely put a shift in, and I was unlucky not to get. He was unlucky with the own goal. Um, he was a bit unlucky with a couple of other chances that he had as well. But yeah, I thought Dan Ballard was solid throughout and seems to seems to be bringing the best out of Luke O'Nien as well. I mean, I've been fairly critical of Luke O'Nien as a central defender, certainly on the chats. I think he's been at fault for a large portion of our goals that we've conceded in the past few weeks. But yeah, really couldn't complain about his performance at all yesterday. And I think they coped well with as a four, and then obviously shifting to a three when Bailey Wright came on. I think they just seemed to happen seamlessly, which is a good sign as well. I think it certainly doesn't worry me that if we have to play 3 or 5 in the back, whichever way you look at it, don't have too many concerns about that if we have to do that against either Wigan or Blackpool or both.
So let's fast forward a couple of weeks. Let's
Mm-hmm.
ignore the transfer window for now. Let's say that we have a healthy defense. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got our nines healthy, Bath, Ballard, Alessi, and Ballard.
Yeah.
A lot of B's in there. Do you play a 3 at the back? Do you drop O'Nien onto the bench as a kind of a Swiss Army knife substitute?
I think so. I think I would be inclined to probably go with a 3, just because I think that suits our midfielders better.
All right, so let's say everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
Based on the first half of the season going forward, let's talk about your best starting 11.
Yeah.
Pato in goal. I don't think Bass has got a look in.
No question. Yeah. I would say probably O'Nien, Ballard, Bath as a back 3.
Okay.
Right backs. I mean, I would say Gooch, just because of his energy. I think he's a bit lacking defensively, but at the moment, and without seeing more of Huggins, I think he's better than Trey Hume.
Okay.
And I would say Jack Clark as the left wing back.
Clark, okay. Midfield.
I would say Dan Neil, Evans, and Pritchard.
Okay. And are you playing two up front?
Yeah. This is really a tricky one. I would say sort of either you're probably looking at Sims Stewart as your centre forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, nailed on. Yeah, I would say probably. I don't know. I'd like to see Diallo play sort of a bit further forward side. Say Stewart and Diallo.
So Sims comes off the bench and replaces Stewart.
Yeah.
Well, it's not bad. It's not a bad lineup. I'll see if I can do some jiggery pokery with the old graphics, and we'll get that up. We'll have a talking point. See if anybody has a better starting lineup. Let's move on to the upcoming fixtures. I'm not going to do a post Wigan podcast. It's just too much to turn around on my own. So I'm going to look for your Wigan and your Blackpool results.
I'm going to go 2-0 to us at Wigan. And I think Blackpool will be a 1-1 draw.
Well, I'm going to go 3-1 Sunderland at Wigan. And I think we'll win 1-0 at Blackpool. Now, we did a quick switcheroo on the bets. We were awful the first half of the season. I think we only had, $75 in the pot going forward for charity. I've already distributed that out to a young lady who I used to work with back in my T-Mobile days. She lost her son on vacation last year or this year, and she had a GoFundMe, kind of a charity drive in his name for kids' presents. So we sent that off to them during December. We are going to go back to the Bradley Lowry Foundation for the second half of the season. So we have $20 worth of bets going in. We'll see how we do. Hopefully we do better in the second half than we did in the first.
Keep our fingers crossed, yes.
Yeah. All right, Justin, thank you very much for taking the time out of your hectic schedule. I'm sure you're working from home studiously this week.
I'm actually working tomorrow. I've got Thursday and Friday off, so
one day during the Christmas malaise. Well, hopefully we'll see you again before the end of the season.
Yep.
Thank you for stopping by. Guys, that's all we have time for. If you want to join me on the podcast, just shoot me a message either through the NASA Facebook pages or reach out to Justin and he'll get in touch with me. Comment on the YouTube page. Let me know that you want to jump on. I'd love to have some new faces. I dread the idea of having Sean back on for the umpteenth time. But yeah, that's it for us next week. Don't forget to like the page, do everything you do to kind of spread the word. And we'll see you all after the Blackpool game. Thanks for stopping by.